What's going on, everyone? The market started off a little bit shaky this morning as there was a lot of selling pressure that came in right from open, but it ended up pulling a complete 180 and had a legendary reversal to the upside. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the inflation data that released today, how it's impacting the market, and what to know going forward. But we're also going to talk about the insane move that Nvidia is having as This is moving in a pretty crazy way. We'll say that for now, but we have a lot more to cover with this one. But we also have to cover a pretty interesting new trend that has started to happen in the market lately and how it's starting to affect the market's movement, specifically around open. And we have a lot of great setups and a lot of great information today. I'm very excited for the market tomorrow, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, the market was pretty awesome today, I would say, especially towards the end of the day whenever we started seeing these key resistances get broken and we saw this nice uptrend, but there was a lot of shake early on there. And I will say this, looking at the heat map, 53% of stocks were down in the red. So I found that to be a pretty interesting number, Mike. A lot of stocks were green, of course, like these tech stocks. And of course, they lifted the market. But, finance stocks like the big banks were down quite a bit. And even some of the, I guess, what we'll call value stocks over here, like KO, Procter & Gamble, and others, ended up down in the red. So very mixed day. But at open, we had this pretty bad drop out of the market, right? And I know you said that there was some CPI data that was released. And personally, Mike, I actually love the CPI data released today. It showed that the year-over-year inflation rate came in at 2.5% versus the estimates of like 2.6 to 2.7%. So we're seeing a pretty steady drop on the inflation rate. Now, the core rate did come in right at the same level that it was last time at 3.2%. But overall, I think it's awesome to see inflation falling like this. And we have an awesome inflation chart that just shows over the past year how much it's really fallen. Last year at this time, we were at like 3.7%. Now we're a whole percent lower now.
Yeah, so that's definitely great to see, but as we all know, the job isn't completely done yet. But what is really nice to see is that the inflation rate is actually at its lowest level since February of 2021. So that's awesome, and it definitely shows some good signs. And what this is ultimately doing is giving Jerome Powell and the rest of the members at the Federal Reserve a nice, crystal clear green light to cut interest rates next week by 25 basis points. Yesterday, the market wasn't as certain as they are now as to how much interest rates will get cut by. But now there's an 85% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut with only a 15% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut. So that's good to see. But as Tom pointed out just a couple minutes ago, we saw some pretty harsh selling pressure hit the market right from open. And I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this either, but this sort of price action has been becoming more and more common lately. And we actually have a really cool chart to show here that basically shows that over the past 50 days, we are seeing an increase in how often we see a harsh morning sell-off. Basically, 8 of the past 50 days had a drop of at least 1% at some point before noon, and this pace is rising pretty quickly. And the main reason we point this out is because it's a new trend in the market. And in the past, we've seen trends like this that, can last for, certain periods at a time. And like, especially during, you could say like transitionary periods as we are about to start cutting rates and getting closer and closer to the election and everything associated with that. But either way, we definitely want to showcase this data because it's not something you see too often.
Yeah, and these are drops of at least 1%, right? I would love to see like some of the stats on like a 0.5% drop or even 0.25%, right? Because what we've been seeing in the market lately is pretty rough, especially early on in the morning. A lot of the time, we see some pretty big declines there before the market. Before the afternoon. So I find that very interesting, Mike. It's just one of those interesting stats that, as the market's been shifting, it's kind of cool to see, exactly how many there's been. And, it's just an interesting stat to look at considering that, even today, it was a pretty bad open, right? Today was like the best example of that. But I don't know about tomorrow, Mike. There was a lot of bullishness today. And I will say the market being up 1% and all these chip stocks flying flying up. I don't know that that'll hold up tomorrow.
You can't say bullishness without Nvidia in the same sentence. This stock is doing what it does best, and that is move to the upside in a crazy, exponential way. And the CEO of Nvidia had some words to say today at a conference, but realistically, there wasn't any one statement that truly stood out among the rest. It was more so that like once Nvidia stock, has some somewhat decent news, people start to buy into it, and that causes the stock price to go up, which, other people see, and then they want to get into it, which pushes the stock price even higher, and it just starts this very positive bullish feedback loop, which resulted in Nvidia's price action today. But either way, looking at Nvidia, it has some really good short-term bullish momentum where like the medium-term trend has been a little bit shaky. So with that being said, Tom, what would you say are some key levels to keep on watch for this one tomorrow?
Yeah, with Nvidia here, closed right around a pretty key resistance I have on the chart, right around 117 to 118. There was actually a few hits in the past whenever Nvidia was consolidating on the way down towards the end of August, where it was consolidating at. So just keep watching that key resistance for tomorrow. If we do end up seeing a pretty good clear break up through 118, I'll first be watching 120, and then after that, 122, 123, and then 125. In the short term, I think 125 is the most major level up overhead along with 123. There were so many hits while Nvidia was consolidating up there. So if it does pop tomorrow in a crazy way like today, that would probably be a good area to target.
All right, sounds good. So definitely keep Nvidia close on watch. This stock has big, crazy moves in both directions, and Nvidia is one of the major stocks that really influences the market as a whole, and it definitely had a big impact into the market's very strong recovery today, especially as the day went on. And when you have Nvidia up 8% in one day, that has a big impact in the market, not only directly but also just with the sentiment as a whole. So don't forget about Nvidia, but looking at the schedule for tomorrow, we do have some PPI data set to release 1 hour before market open. This data realistically won't be as important as the inflation data that released today, but it definitely still has market moving potential.
Yeah, it does. I know that producer prices are definitely something people are still looking at. There was a lot of articles and a lot of people asking about this today, so keep that in mind. And then, of course, the earnings calendar is dwindling down as we get towards the end of the week. But tomorrow, there is a pretty decent tech stock reporting in after hours with Adobe. So keep that on the radar. That's another pretty big one. I know Oracle had some pretty good movement earlier in the week, so maybe Adobe can follow up with a nice end to the earnings season here.
No doubt. And then as we go back to SPY, it had a great day today, as we know, but this is happening at a time that is normally a pretty bearish part of the month. As we all know, September is one of the most bearish months of the entire year for the stock market, and some people look at today's price action and are probably wondering, what's going on here? So what's worth noting is that while September historically is a very bearish time of the year for the market, of course, not every September is red, but what's, I guess you could say, worth keeping in mind above all else is that the second half of September specifically is the worst time of the entire year for the stock market. So, Tom, looking at SPY right now, what are the most important levels to watch over these next couple days?
Yeah, right now, SPY is sitting on a key resistance at 555. This was major whenever SPY was consolidating up at the all-time highs there around 560 to 565. So I'll definitely have 555 on the radar for tomorrow. There was also a ton of hits right around 557. So that'll be another key resistance. I saw some minor resistance around 559, but I'm mainly watching 560 once we break above 557. After that, hey, we're pretty much clear for the all-time high, right? 565. And if SPY has another day tomorrow like it had today, it won't be very far off that high, that's for sure. And who knows, Mike, I never expected to end the week up this high. If we have another green day like this tomorrow, who knows? Friday, we might make new highs.
Alrighty, and then looking at the downside, what would you say are some key levels in the event this momentum turns?
Yeah, today there was a lot of key resistances that broke that are going to now act as support. support. 550 will be pretty major there. 553 is another one to the downside. And then I also like 546 and 542 if we do end up falling that much. The low of the week is down around 538 down there, so that'll be on watch as well, but I don't know that we'll get there considering, it was up 1% today.
True. And then when we look at SPY and let's say a daily chart or even like an intraday hourly chart, we can see that it has been making lower highs over the past couple of months or so. The first one is like on July 16th, which was like where the ultimate peak was, but then it made a slightly lower high towards the end of August, and now we're getting to that point where it looks like we're about to make this third potential lower high. For those of you who don't know, lower highs aren't the best sign to see, and it definitely indicates increasing selling pressure, but from here on out, it's really a matter of where this lower high will be made, and if a lower high is not made, then that can start a whole new trend. So definitely keep that in mind going forward. It's just something, I guess you could say, to look out for. This will not be, I guess you could say, super applicable for tomorrow. But again, as always, we like to point things out ahead of time so you can be aware of them as they develop. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is BABA, and it is to the upside. This stock had a pretty solid past couple days and is moving in a way that I guess you could just say is independent of the market as a whole, which I think is really good in a market situation like this. Alibaba has been uptrending in a great way over the past couple of months, and it's at that point where it's still consistently uptrending, but it's not yet to the point where it's like crazy overextended, and it doesn't have like all that hype to it just yet. So for that reason, I really like the reward to risk setup with BABA, and especially if we break above some of these recent highs right around like $86 or so, I think the intensity of this uptrend can get a lot more crazy.
Yeah, I do too. I actually like this resistance quite a bit, and the way that it's, looking, extending to the upside in the short term, I think it looks pretty awesome. A lot of times there's these stocks like BABA where they just staircase up, and, they do have their times of chop, right? But they just slowly and gradually keep staircasing up, and they're kind of at that point now where they're starting to pop up off of that recent dip. So I definitely like BABA quite a bit. With my first play, I'm going to go ahead and look at FSLR. These solar companies were exploding today as apparently Kamala Harris gained some traction in some of the polls and even like the Vegas betting odds and stuff. So looking at FSLR, was up 15%. If we see good bullish momentum like we saw today, tomorrow morning at open, then go ahead and look at this one back to the upside. I'll be looking more specifically for a break of like 242, but these stocks definitely have news, and it's not just FSLR. The solar, I guess, sector in general did very well today.
There we go. All right, another stock I'm watching very closely is CCJ, and this is to the upside. CCJ had a great move higher today, somewhat similar to the FSLR movement that you mentioned, but CCJ is a stock that has been pretty oversold in the, I guess you could say, in the short term, as it fell from highs of $56 a share all the way down to like $36 a share just over the span of a couple months, and now it's finally starting to move back up in like a momentum-filled way. So for that reason, I really like the reward to risk setup with this one in the short term. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a retest right around like the $42 level, assuming this sort of price action can continue.
Yeah, I like it in the short term quite a bit. I love the way it consolidated today and held around highs. I would not be surprised to see it continue tomorrow. And like you mentioned with SPY, this one's the opposite, right? It actually has higher lows, which is a pretty good bullish sign in the short term as well, and it's holding on support. So I like CCJ quite a bit for tomorrow. With my next play, I'm looking at Roku. It's popping up above $70 a share. It was up 6.84% today. It's just pretty much following up the tech stocks, right? The tech stocks were having a great day today, and if Roku can end up breaking out above $70.50 tomorrow, I will continue to watch this one up. Again, though, it just needs to have that good bullish momentum that we had today. There's a lot of stocks out there like Nvidia and etc. that if they pull back hard tomorrow, then we'll probably see some of these other tech stocks like Roku and etc. maybe also pull back with those bigger tech stocks. So just keep that in mind.
Yep, it's always important to remain adaptable, but great stuff there, Tom. And let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Starbucks to the upside, and this one crushed it today.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. 5% out of what some people classify as a pretty slow-moving stock, right? But if they end up breaking out above $99, I'll be watching this one back to the upside tomorrow. That's going to be a big level, maybe target 100 if they do break 99. But we actually have Starbucks on the Bookmap as well, because $100 is going to be key over the next few days. That'll be a great target for tomorrow, but just be careful of that as resistance. We always like to show you guys everything out there, and I figured that was such a significant level that it had to be shown.
Tom, is that 84,000 sellers lined up right there at 100?
Yeah, it is. 84,000 at $100 a share on the Bookmap. And look at every other level here. Even 99, which is fairly big, only has 19,000 shares. And pretty much everywhere else is only like 1,000 shares, 2,000 shares, etc. So, you can definitely tell that 100 is the most significant. But I will say 100 is probably the most psychological level you could have.
Very good to know. If you guys haven't used Bookmap yet, definitely check it out. We have the link in the description below. Basically, if you use our link, you save quite a bit, so definitely check it out. But besides that, with the next momentum play, we have SQ to the upside.
Yeah, Square killed it today as well. I mean, so many stocks did well today, right? But if SQ breaks above 63.60, then keep watching it up. I like this 63.50 resistance, but I want to make sure it breaks out above there.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Chewy also to the upside.
Yeah, Chewy's amazing, Mike. I know you've been talking about this one a ton in the short term, and it's right around that key $30 resistance. If it can break above 30.50, keep watching for more momentum.
All right, so we have Chewy, SQ, and SBUX all on watch for potential upside momentum style trades tomorrow. If and only if they break through the levels Tom listed, the stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, then do not force the setups. But besides that, Tom, we are all clear for today's $854,000 big money trade. And this one's very interesting, and it is with CVS. So this is a stock that has been struggling quite a bit over the past couple of years, and definitely in the short term as well. And basically today, the big money bought the 56 strike call options that expire on October 11th of 2024. I thought this was very interesting, as these call options are already in the money. They have around 30 days worth of time to them. They were filled 19 minutes after open, which ended up being very close to the stock's low of day. And this is happening at a time where the market is starting to show some impressive strength. At the same time, these call options, like when we go to, let's say, like an hourly chart or a 2-hour chart or just something like that, we can see that the stock is at a relatively, I guess you could say, low point that it has been at over like the past couple of months, which I like to see, given that, it just makes for a better reward risk setup. For example, when the stock's right at $56 right here, a stop loss can be placed, let's say in the worst scenario, maybe down to 52 or so, with profit targets all the way up to 64 and, maybe even towards the higher end of the gap from April, closer to like 66, depending on how the price action is. That might be pushing it a little bit given the expiration, but the main point is that it has a really nice reward risk skew, and I'm very excited to see how this one does.
Yeah, I am too, Mike. CVS has been down in the dumps for a long time, right? And I really like the setup in the short term. There's a big support here around that $55 mark, and the setup really makes this a grade A big money play for me because, like you said, the risk reward really lines up with it. Now, I know some people might not like CVS, but I think for like a shorter term trade, it could definitely be viable here considering how big that support is. I will say, though, this stock is taking quite the beating the past couple of years. It could break support, but obviously anything can happen in the stock market, right? And that's why we continue to be adaptable and smart and put those stop losses in place at the correct levels. I know you mentioned some levels, Mike. I think like 53, 52 could be good if you're going a little longer term with it, but I don't know. It's a pretty short term play as well.
Yep, so definitely keep this stock close on watch going forward, but we can't move any further into today's video without giving a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Manny in the Stocked Up trading floor, who hit it out of the park today, and he had a lot of great things to say in the Discord, and we just want to say thank you so much, Manny, for being a great active member of the community, and it's awesome to see days like this one, so keep on rolling. It's really, really great to see screenshots like this. So that's awesome. And if you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out the first link in the description in the comments down below. You get access to all of our custom bots, our live events, big money plays. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, and it is the place to be for short-term trading. Our SM bot is like an intraday screener that looks at the most explosive options all day long, and here are some of the best alerts that it had today. It had some FSLR call options that popped up by 420%, Nvidia call options that popped up by 342%, AVGO call options that popped up by 337%, Starbucks call options that popped up by 308%, and the list goes on even further. So if you guys want access to SM Bot, all of our other bots, and tonight's live event, definitely check out the first link in the description and the comments down below. But besides that, we are super excited for the market tomorrow. It's great to see price action and momentum building and intensifying, as that is what presents some of the best trading opportunities out there. As a short-term trader, one of your main jobs is to be adaptable and flexible with the market. Bulls make money, bears make money, but pigs get slaughtered. It's important to be able to shift between that bull and bear state as the market sentiment changes, because that is, one thing that truly separates, those who crush it from those who don't. So definitely keep that in mind. If you're new to the channel, consider destroying the subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. We cover everything you have to know about the markets, including important news, earnings, data you wouldn't otherwise see, big money plays, and everything you can need in like 20 to 25 minutes or less. Most of the time, at least. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.